World of Warcraft, the South Seas. The hard evidence behind what is World of Warcraft's next expansion. Bellular's got the evidence. You guys know I'm an attorney. I'm going to review this evidence at the court of law and see whether or not it adds up to what will be our next expansion. Let's check it out.
The Sundering ripped the ancient supercontinent of Kalimdor apart, and what remained were continents and islands strung throughout a huge ocean, one bounded on either side by walls of mist and storms, known as the Veiled and Forbidden Seas. What lies beyond that? Other continents, lands like nothing we've ever experienced our side of the planet, empires and kingdoms, old gods, keepers, opportunity and danger. But the only references we have are downright ancient. We've been ignoring this whole time that there's another side of Azeroth out there to explore. Until now. One night elf knows the truth at the very least. Went there, he did, and saw what he considered to be the ultimate prize. This individual, known only as the Night Squall, is on a mission to open a path to the other side of Azeroth.
If you're wondering who this guy is, he's some night elf pirate who evidently went to the other side of the world and came back. And supposedly legend says that if you go to the other side of Azeroth, you never come back. This is the first guy to do it, and he found some shit, and now he wants to bring an entire fleet back to the other side of Azeroth.
And bring with him a pirate fleet. One, of course, we will follow. We have a decent idea what the next expansion will be. We know it's going to involve, we think anyway, the coming of the Void. Characters like Xal'atath, perhaps even Ashara. So is that going to be on a revamped Azeroth? Will we go somewhere else? Well, today, we're kind of asking, what if this is all connected? What if in any big scenario we'll get new locations like Plunder Isle and a fully realized South Seas, one that will be the gateway to the other side of Azeroth, the land of Avalorn, and whatever we may find there. Including our sponsor, Boot.dev. Their founders are WoW players, they're viewers of our channels, and if you use code BELLULAR, you'll get 25% off, which is awesome. Now, Boot.dev is a programming role-playing game that makes learning back-end development fun. I mean, they've integrated all with quests, levels, achievements, global leaderboard, XP points. Thing is, though, back-end dev, like in the US, the median salary is 100 grand. That's what it was in 2022. And this is a pretty sick role, offering, you know...
And you know what? What's really sad? I hear 100 grand now, and I'm like, shit. I don't know if that's a lot anymore. It's really not. Fucking inflation's crazy, man. You go to a grocery store now, and you're like, I'm gonna get some milk. $100 right now. The fuck? You can't walk into a store anymore without dropping a hundo. No matter where you go. You could go to the Dollar Tree and spend $100 these days. Shit ain't $1 anymore, by the way. Just so you know.
Remote hybrid work. Now, for the specifics, Boot.dev specializes in back-end development using Python
Unfortunately, our salaries
Go.
have not
inflated. It's
at
your own pace, and I mean, seriously, like Python, Go, those are both fantastic things to learn. Their whole thing is to avoid tutorial hell and to just start coding. And that is exactly what their fantastic platform is geared toward. Just going through the various topics, there is an utter...
The McChicken is $4 now? Holy shit. I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but when I was in college, what was this now? Oh shit, it was like... Had to have been 2011? 2010-ish? Yeah, 2010. So that's 13 years ago. McChicken was $1. The McChicken was on the dollar menu. It was $1 fucking dollar. I used to buy that shit when I was in college every day. I'd be like, I got $2. I'm going to get 2 McChickens. And I'd get the change out of my, council to pay for the tax. My God.
Boatload of content. It is so smartly structured, starting off with super approachable things
4X.
And then getting properly in-depth into like the actual gnarly skills you're going to need. And I wish I had this when I was younger. I was bouncing around random Stack Overflow and YouTube tutorials, but to have everything in one place that's all focused on you just shipping projects, that is perfect. It's the opposite of the unfocused and unsatisfying way that many of us learn.
Shit.
They really are the opposite of tutorial hell, and being a computer science major, I find it to be the perfect way to learn to code. Boot easily beats like what a semester of uni would have been for me, like hands down. And obviously, these are skills that lead to significant earning potential. Or, honestly, if you're like me, fun, because I used to be coding all the time. I don't code much anymore. I want to code more. And you can do the same using code Bellular25 for 25% off. A big thank you to their founders, Lane and Alan, for watching the channels and also supporting us. With that said, let's get started. The Gateway to Avalorn. Dragonflight tells us what's going to be next. There are Naga prophecies that are coming true by the patch, by the way, that tell us of an Ashara ready to come back, likely with the power of Cosmic Void at her back.
There's Ashara coming back. That's like almost a guarantee at this point. That is a for sure. Ashara will show up. Remember, the last thing we did was we kind of saved her from the Void, and then she got pulled in at the last second. We're going to see what happens with her, what the hell is going on. And obviously the Naga have been very prophetic in terms of what is happening next. They're calling out that the Void is coming.
Xal'atath, who may be an old god and seems to be the harbinger of the Void Lords. There are ethereals looking over our shoulder, whose story may be about to kick off again with some mysterious Brawlers Guild-looking assets appearing in the PTR, but Blizzard not even speaking of it. The big bad of our next...
Remember, the Brawlers Guild is being used by these Void, the Voidy Ethereals. They said they were using it. We found out they were using it to watch our skills, right? To understand how we fight, what our abilities are and everything. It makes sense. You'd watch a Brawlers Guild to see how does this... You remember, they found us. We're this race that they're not sure what we're about. They want to learn how strong we are. They watch us fight. It makes sense.
Expansion may indeed be the Void then, but they've not been setting up any specific Void location. Sure, the next expansion could be us launching into space, into the realm of Void itself, but I don't think people want another Shadowlands. There are plenty of reasons not to do that idea, like the fact that all these Void prophecies talk about Ashara coming here to Azeroth. In fact, they're already here. They're working through the Incarnates.
Ooh.
But they've also been setting up another huge mystery. Now, Tharion's personal books, his annotations in the margin say that no, there is actually more than just the one supercontinent of Kalimdor. Of course, this is stuff that was written before the Sundering happened. That does mean, though, that there was another supercontinent. Everything that we know in the game right now is an offshoot of Kalimdor, pretty much.
Okay, so there's another supercontinent that may have also been broken up like our continent was, so there could be multiple continents on the other side of Azeroth.
Does mean something else exists. And that is where the Titan records get interesting, because they speak of a place named Avalorn. Now, its inhabitants are actually so powerful now that they turned back Odin's Titan-forged armies when he was at the peak of his power. Right, back when he was the number one Titan guy in Azeroth. So, we know there's a bunch of Void stuff coming. We know that there is another big continent somewhere on Azeroth. Finally, then, we have the exploits of the Night Elf pirate, the Night Squall, which straight up just say that he has been to the other side of Azeroth and that whatever is out there is worth creating a whole big pirate federation to go and claim. So, if
he's a pirate, I assume it's some kind of treasure, some kind of loot. I mean, that's the shit pirates would be interested in. So I assume we're going to have, it's a good assumption to make with Blizzard. We're probably going to have a new currency. Yeah, some kind of new currency to collect. Great.
All go down. So I want you to think about where we're at with all these mysteries. Thing number one, the Void stuff is being worked into the A-plot of Dragonflight right now. We then have all of this other side of Azeroth stuff. The thing is, though, getting us there is going to be quite tricky. Are Blizzard just going to say one day, hey, by the way, go through the Veiled Sea, done, easy, here's the map. Are they going to do that? Or are they going to get us there via some other means? People have long spoken of the South Seas, and I'm here to tell you that, actually, there is more unexplored there than you may have realized, and that stuff may indeed be our gateway. They're the key. Who is going to take us there and how? Well, we'll kick things off with the Night Squall. That's kind of where all this stuff started. He was this vicious pirate who took everything he could from Azeroth, and then when there was nothing left, he built a huge ship and he set sail west, saying that he wanted his share of everything the world had. This guy then disappeared for years.
This is really cool. I actually imagine us getting there via some like interactive sailing, like ship riding thing. And then that's going to open us up to this whole ship riding shit, kind of like dragon riding was for our expansion. I think they're going to make the ocean no longer like a loading screen zone, that we are actually going to sail there. So imagine you get on some, if you're an Alliance character and you get on some Kultiran vessel, right? and you set sail, and you got to like click the sails to bring them down and click this shit to turn it right, and make sure you're following the winds and do all this interactive shit as you're sailing across to the new land. That's what I imagine happening, and that all of that will be like a training scenario for when you finally get your own ship in this expansion and you're able to sail the open seas. That's how I imagine it being, and I actually think that'd be very cool.
And it was assumed he was taken
I
by...
don't know if you've ever played Sea of Thieves, any of you out there, but I honestly found Sea of Thieves, the whole sailing part of it, to be very fun. To like the way you got to match the wind and do all the shit you got to do to be able to sail properly. I found that to be a very fun part of the whole game. So I'd love to see something like that in WoW.
Storms or the monsters
like
in the
Sam. Thank you,
Forbidden Sea.
Cadence.
But one day he returned. He returned with ships bursting full of treasures like no one had seen before.
Good luck, man.
He told no one what he saw back there, but said he has a new prize in his crosshairs, and to get it, he needed the biggest pirate federation in history.
Yes.
Two things then. Number one, he has a route to the other side of Azeroth. Second, he's going back. That is future content. Perfect for a new slice of Azeroth. Zones like Tanaris and Stranglethorn are hotbeds of pirate activity. Between the Blackwater Raiders and the Bloodsail Buccaneers, all you've got to do is add a few trolls, a bit more of Southern Stranglethorn as a questing zone, and yeah, you know, actually fairly easy. There's so much potential for new zones in this, and I want to tell you about one in particular. We've never been to Plunder Isle or Bloodsail Hold, which is within that isle. We actually don't even know who the leader of the Bloodsails are. Yes, we met Fleet Admiral Tethys in Legion, but yeah, he's not the main leader. He's just a guy. He's a pretty important guy. He's a really cool character. We'd all love to see him back, and actually, that's quite relevant. Fleet Admiral Tethys is mates with the World of Warcraft rogue. That actually gives us a perfect way to naturally be woven into that fresh pirate story.
Okay.
But there are others in the ocean. Gazlo, you know, the goblin who architected Orgrimmar and then lived out a peaceful life in Ratchet, you know, leading the Steamweedle. Well, the other big goblin cartel are the Bilgewater.
That's a pretty cool piece of lore. That's why he just kind of is on vacation now on the side. Made a bunch of money and decided to vacation.
They're the playable
Very
goblins.
goblin-esque.
Their former prince, Jastor Gallywix, sided with Sylvanas and fled after the war.
Why has nobody went after Gallywix after what he did? Fuckboy was completely, you know, all in for the corruption and everything, went after the Azerite like crazy, sided with Sylvanas, and then just kind of disappeared the rest of the expansion? What the hell? He needs to be punished.
Took over and now leads two of the three big cartels. And that leaves the Venture Company, who have kicked up operations in Stranglethorn again.
Is he part of the council for... Does anyone know anyone who plays Horde out there? Is he part of the council for the Horde now? Damn. Corrupt-ass piece of shit. Still alive?
Yeah, you may not have known that, but there you go. There's some more story that kind of slipped in the cracks. That's more revamp fodder, isn't it? But the point is, there's a lot going on in the ocean. Now, take a look at this. This is the latest subscription mount. Blizzard has one of the best mounts in the game with, say, the Sylvarian Dreamer, of taking a creature from the next expansion and using it as a store mount. They've done this so many times since Mists of Pandaria, in fact. Now, the reason
why I say it's one of the best is it increases flight speed. It's a flight mount, it's a swimming mount, and a ground mount. It's freaking beastly.
It's a mount that goes faster in water. Think again about the South Seas. Think about Plunder Isle, Kazan, Undermine, Baelor, which is a spot closer to the Eastern Kingdoms. These are all small zones that they could weave into a great big revamp and expansion, right? Each one of them introducing something that will eventually bring us to the continent of Avalorn.
Yes.
Okay, that's the ground level stuff, the bread and butter of how we'll get there. But there are some big names who are going to be integral. A God's Eye View. Something powerful is on the other side of Azeroth, and big names are invested in either getting or destroying it. First, we have the character of Odin. We are nearly certain that Avalorn is the name, or at least it's somewhere on the other side of the world. And that's because we see in a bunch of documents found in Uldaman at the start of Dragonflight, these tales of Odin's armies that failed to invade, right? Their ships would just wash up.
Yeah, it does sound like on point with the Titans, that if they couldn't take control of something, they would hide it. they'd hide it and try to erase it from the record books. That's totally seems like something the Titans would do now that we know them so well.
Shipwrecked back in Kalimdor. So that means it's somewhere else, and it's not the Dragon Isles. It's also way beyond coincidence that we've got 2 other references to the back of Azeroth in one expansion, right? One from the Night Squall, and then one from Neltharion, when, just to remind you, he says that no, and this is back in the day when Kalimdor is a supercontinent, Sundering hasn't happened. He's like, no, it's not just Kalimdor, there's somewhere else. He says that in the margins of the book, The Old Gods and the Ordering of Azeroth. So if it's the same place, then Odin, and by extension the Titans, back in the day, had a big problem with that place. The Titan Forged called the people in Avalorn heretics, right? Apparently they committed some crimes against the Titan Keepers. And of course, we've long speculated on who may be there. Maybe it's a rogue Titan Keeper, maybe it's the Void, maybe it's some other power, but whatever it is, Odin was really pissed off at them.
He didn't
and
like
it's not like we think he's great either, but whoever's out there is evidently somebody or some group of people who disagree with the Titan mythology that we had been spoon-fed for years.
Kind of like the Primal Incarnates who disagree with the Titans, and we're realizing that they're not so wrong in their disagreement. Well, man, people just shit on the Titans.
Not appreciate us turning up. I mean, there's a reason we can't go back there. So whatever turned away Odin's armies, that is the same thing that's been keeping that area shrouded for years. There are so many big questions here. Did the Titans know what was going on back there? Or at least the Titan Keepers?
I think they know.
Was it a part of Azeroth that they could not order? That could be what Neltharion
That's what I think it is.
Is it a remnant of the Black Empire in Azeroth? I mean, probably not, but that's where the speculation actually gets really interesting. Now, the other big character we need to keep an eye on is, of course, Xal'atath. She just showed up in Dragonflight, and when she did, everything clicked into place. The Incarnates aren't just idealistic dragons juiced up on elemental power. Their leader, Iridikron, is actually mad, and is so pissed off with the Titans and the Aspects, he made a big deal with Void to spite everybody. He's handing Azeroth over to the Void because he hates the Titans that bad.
Right.
Who's his handler?
Iridikron's taking the stance that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? The original Primal Incarnates are not Void aligned. They just don't like the Titans. So now they're aligning, or at least Iridikron is aligning with the Void to try to get back at the Titans.
Xal'atath. She is seemingly called the Harbinger, which we actually saw referenced back in 10.0.7 in a collection of Naga prophecies. There were 4 prophecies, 3 of them have been fulfilled. When they're done, this Harbinger will, to sort of quote Iridikron, pry Azeroth from the Titan's grasp. At which point, Iridikron, per his more recent cinematic, thinks that the Titans will personally show up, and that's when he's going to slap them down because he says, they'll show up, and I'll be waiting for them. The prophecy that is outstanding is this, and I quote, "A dark heart left broken awaits the taking." Now, I want you to check our Timelines video and to check out our 5th Old God video. They'll take you through a lot there. Think back to what remained of Yasharj, his heart. To sum up, there's some rumblings of a 5th Old God, right? It's canon now, but that Old God seemingly got eaten by the other 4. We think it might have been Xal'atath, and we think that it's all tied into this ancient hunger that was extracted from Galakrond in the Dawn of the Infinite dungeon, and we think that actually may be all that remains of that old god, but there's a lot more out there. Anyway, a dark heart left broken. It's something spooky. Now we've got to ask, though, is what remains actually a 5th old god that is stashed away the other side of Azeroth? Maybe
it could be that Xal'atath is just a little piece of that old. Some people were saying even the dagger itself is the claw or something, or like the fingernail of the old god of what remains of that old god. So Xal'atath is like a piece of the old god, and they're trying to rebuild themselves because they were eaten by the others. But supposedly they all teamed up against Xal'atath because she was the most powerful of them. And so they wanted to take her out so they could have more power themselves.
Civilization, or maybe guarded by noble keepers who turned away from Odin, thinking that Odin was wrong about something. Either way, Xal'atath is the character who is on the hunt for whatever remains, and she could be the character to blast a hole in that world map and get us to the other side. It's all so clear. Okay, we've laid out a bit of a vision for the future here. In our recent video, we talked about the likelihood of a world revamp, right? That's one thing. We've also talked about how the Void seems to be coming. We've talked about Avalorn being the other side of Azeroth. Today I've talked a bit about the South Seas and the Night Squall, a character who's probably going to take us there. That actually can even tie into Lordaeron politics, because in the old Warcraft role-playing game, the leader of the Bloodsail Buccaneers is actually an ex-Lordaeron noble. So that could be a neat way to bring some Alliance characters into that whole situation as well.
Okay. Lordaeron.
So here's how
Lordaeron's about to be more relevant just because of the Heritage Armor quest line going on and everything. That's
things
great.
Could go down, and maybe the most crazy and awesome potential future timeline for WoW. We will come out of Dragonflight and will be reintroduced to a partially revamped Azeroth. We'll perhaps engage with some zone-level stories. Maybe Anduin will come back to the throne. Maybe if it is some full crazy world revamp, we'll sort out the Botani and the Barons, we'll reclaim Gilneas, all these cool things.
Why was the sword blurred out like that? It looked so phallic. What the hell? What sword? Nobody knows what that is. Look at he just
and the
blurred it
Barons
out.
will reclaim Gilneas. All these cool things will happen. But whatever it is, two stories will build up. First, the Void is about to make a move on Azeroth. The Harbinger will advance their plan, and by the end of the expansion, we'll see the first waves of the invasion. Either that, or Blizzard will just launch us straight into the Void thing. We won't get that world revamp. I mean, hey, everyone would love the world revamp, but we also all know it's a hell of a lot of work. But if they're going to tie the Void thing to the Avalorn thing, right?
I do think they're going to do the world revamp. I think that stuff's going to happen. They do have to revamp Silvermoon. I mean, my God. But we've seen they have some assets. One big hint at a world revamp, and I actually saw this in a, what's it called? A quick video before, was Blizzard uses, a lot of times they'll use new in-game assets that they're creating for the next expansion and the current expansion. And if you guys have done the Mega Dungeon, the Garrosh fight, there are new building assets in that fight in the background. Like on the two little islands where the Alliance troops come from and where the Horde troops come from, there's new in-game assets there. Like new styles of Alliance and Horde buildings that don't exist currently in the game. Now, would they really create a new building or a new asset like that to just put it in a Mega Dungeon that you can't even get to? It's just on an island off to the side? No, probably not. Those are probably new assets for the next expansion that they just kind of plopped as background art in the Mega Dungeon. And I really think that's another big hint at this world revamp coming, the fact that they're creating all these new building assets.
These two things they've been building up in the game together, they'll probably have to make it so that the thing that will give Void its ultimate victory is on the other side of Azeroth. And that's when the whole second story kicks in. That throughout the South Seas, in the halls of power in Stormwind and Orgrimmar, from Skyhold to Nazjatar, characters and factions will be building their expeditions, with everyone pointed toward this new land of opportunity, likely finding out about the Night Squall's plan, or perhaps even the Night Squall's original route to and back from the other side of the world. And that perhaps may be the expansion after next. The other side of Azeroth.
Yeah.
Oh boy. It's a lot to cover, it's very dense. TLDR, my Hopium says, world revamp, potential Void thingy, other side of Azeroth expansion. My non-Hopium is big Void expansion, and that leads us to the other side of Azeroth expansion, where we get to see some crazy new land called Avalorn that's being built up in this expansion. That's basically the theory. Let me know what you think about it, and if you disagree with it, well, hey, Avalorn, Night Squall, other side of Azeroth, those things are facts. What do you think Blizzard are going to do with them? Let me know. Have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.
I think the evidence is pretty strong that we're going to get some type of pirate-esque exploration, other side of Azeroth expansion. I do. And some of the evidence he showed here is pretty good. The world revamp stuff, I think all that shit's going to happen too. Now, what the order is, like he was saying, maybe we get a... what's it called? Venture into the Void before we go to the other side, but I don't think so. I think we're going to the other side, and the Void's presence will be stronger there than our side. And that's part of the reason why the Titans couldn't go there. Part of the reason why Odin and the rest of them just agreed to kind of cover it up, right? Because they were like, this is out of control, we'll just hide it from the world. But interesting take. I like Belialar's evidence, and I do think we are going to get some type of South Seas expansion. That's right.